do you choose between family and your dream?
There's always going to be a reason we shouldn't do something. If that's your dream, then do it.
You cook a red meat, I go Pinot Noir. Cook a white, I say Albert
Tone. You know it's fancy because it's in cursive.
We're done.
Welcome everybody back to the Spinner Rack. Today I'm here with my boy Petey, and we're talking about Uncorked, that new Netflix film that just came out. It's about a sommelier, a brother who wants to become a sommelier, and he has to somehow get over.
Was that a Somalian? Is that what did you just say? Sorry.
Sommelier. It's about a brother who wanted to be a sommelier, and basically what he has to do to become that, to follow his dream. Mm-hmm. So, Petey, we've both taken a look at it. Before we delve deep into it and stuff like that, what was your initial thoughts on the whole movie? You know?
What was it? My thoughts of it was that it was a decent movie. It was, and I think I want to get into what I talked about in the earlier episode, which would be the struggle love and the black trauma porn, that sort of thing. Now this movie, ultimately this is a drama, right?
Right.
So this is what the interesting thing is that this isn't a high-level drama. This is just a basic movie, but you have to have dramatic moments and stuff and heavy stuff to happen, or else, it's kind of hard not to go to the movie. And this movie has it. It has all elements that you want to see in a movie. It has a lead that's a strong lead. And let's talk about the director. Can you say the director is Prentice Penny?
Prentice Penny. He is the showrunner for Issa Rae's show. What is that called? Insecure?
Yes.
So that's it. And he also had another show, Upscale, I believe, with Prentice Penny, and which was on True TV at one point.
He also has credits on the show called Girlfriends.
Right.
He also, besides Insecure, he also had credits on one of my favorite shows, Happy Endings. So, he comes with.
Don't forget Brooklyn 9. I think 919.
Yeah, I'm not going with the Brooklyn 9. This is a basic story about becoming this person's life, which is the turning point in most people's life. They're in their 20s. They're at home working. He does have a place outside of home, but he basically works with his father, and he finds something that is his true calling, and that is being a connoisseur of wines, and he's studying it. He works 2 jobs, and this causes at any time, especially I don't know what your college experience was like, Mars, but like at times, and this is what friends of mine like trying to do media. At times people will act like it's alien. Like, it's like, what are you trying to do? Or you watch a movie and you say, this movie wasn't that good. Oh yeah, because you do this thing. And it's like, no, so that really connected to me, that thing where you have this interest that nobody really knows about. So, and it takes a while for someone to really see that the kid is focused. So it's very, very much a father-son drama. And, they also have Niecy Nash playing the mother. So we had a nice level to drama and a lot of family stuff that's going on here. But it is a drama. You're not going to escape it being a drama. So
right, but one thing you got to say, it's a drama, but it's also about life. And life has dramatic moments and also has comedic moments. And so this is really, like you said, it's a coming of age where someone's finally finding his true love and what he really wants to do. But at the same time, he's clashing with his father on the. His father wants to hand over a legacy that was given to him from his own father.
Yes.
And so you have to he's trying to find himself and say, hey, this is not necessarily what I want to do. Well, his father is like, well, this is the relationship I have with you. And with this legacy I want to hand to you. And in order for us to really connect, you have to also accept part of this legacy. And so it's a really tough deal, especially with people who own kids, whose parents own small businesses, who are professionals and want to hand that particular profession on to their children. This is a very difficult thing because, your parents have fought and sweated and grinded their days trying to make their lives and your lives easier, but it's a legacy they want to give on to you. And particularly with African Americans who are not as, who have small businesses, they want to hand that over to those around them that they can, to build upon what they've done. And the father in the show has shown, he took his father's, they call it the stand, the restaurant, barbecue restaurant and moved it from just being a stand and made it a little bit more upscale. He got a second store, how successful he was, and was starting to do that. And he wanted to bring his son into it. And unfortunately, there was some, I don't want to go into details about what happened, but they do come together, but it took a tragedy to do that. But it also took him having to let go of part of his dream.
Well,
and also to connect with his father, you know?
Well, I would say one of the things that I think is strong with this story is that I'm going to have to say it, and I'm going to leave it unbleeped. The hard part in your 20s that is, I don't know if it's shown in film a lot or in television, is that, and this is especially in the Black home, when you have your father there in the house, you become at odds. And that wasn't the word I'm going to say. Ultimately, you feel that your father is an asshole, and you have a hard time dealing with him. And this is with the most loving and most caring of parents. There's some sort of rivalry that sort of happens where they see you go in a direction, and then you start to see a direction going the other way. And it's not, and this time, ultimately, they show them, because most of them are in a worse position where the kid's picking up, because they're saying he didn't have any direction, that sort of thing. And that ultimately where the father's struggles are is like, come on, this is just something he's going to pick up and put down just like every other toy. He needs to settle down, take on this business. And then if you want to do the wine thing, I got an area in the back for you. And he's like, nope, I'm doing this thing. I got focus. And then you can see this is something that I think, because I thought at the same time, I would say my father turned to me when I was like 14. And he used to say, he's like, Petey, you're going to think I'm the dumbest person alive. And I was like, how can he say this? This is just, I would never feel this. And then by 16, and he'd say, Petey, can you do it? And I was like, oh, this guy, such a jerk. And then I'll be like, oh my God, he predicted, but I would never tell him that he was right.
But me saying that he's a police officer also let you know that he was an asshole, like real militant. So I was ready to get out of that house as soon as I could.
Yo, my father was an asshole.
As soon as I could.
But and it was interesting seeing that, because it was very much some of the struggles I had. And I mean, they didn't really get into, which I'm fine with, like stuff that I would connect to. It's like, well, why is this strained, or this, that, and the other? Outside of him not having any direction, and outside of him saying him wanting something for his life, which was good. But I really connected in that way with the show. Because it's like, it's when you're in your 20s and you haven't really figured it out, that's also hard for a parent, because they're just like, at this point now, you need to be getting on with the serious part of your life. You can't just be sitting around trying to do something else when we have a business here. Your next thing is here. Your future, and we're building. I'm building, he's building up, he got another building. So the father's angle is not necessarily wrong. It's just not the future the son sees for himself, which was very interesting to me. So, yeah.
And it's I so agree with you. It's a very important thing, passing on a legacy. And this is what the father saw. And what we find out in the show is that the father basically had to kind of give up his dream too, Mm-hmm. And so I don't think he was forcing his son, but he's like, this is what I had to do, and this is why I'm giving it to you, to continue the legacy. And like I said, he couldn't do it. But what I want to definitely talk about is that the cast, I thought particularly strong was Courtney Vance as the father.
Yeah, he's always
in everything. I mean, that's like a regular, put Courtney Vance in a show, in a movie, always elevates it, never a problem. Niecy Nash as the mother was very, very good. The girlfriend, Tanya, newcomer, I thought I wish I would have given her more, so you could see more of the relationship between her and the main character.
I think it was interesting because it left us with ideas of where the relationship was going to go. That in my mind, him going away, like him traveling overseas to learn more, that was going to be a strain on the relationship. And then ultimately, the lead had a lot of issues and a lot of hangups. Where, and at the same time, one of the best parts, and that, when you start dealing with your with your parents, see, both of them didn't know he had a girlfriend. You start dealing with them with a 10-foot pole. they don't even know that he has a girlfriend. So it's like they see the strain where he's just like, I don't even need to deal with the BS. I'm not going to tell them. So it's like when he sees that and she's like jumping up, and they're just like, this is not how you meet someone on the hearing an alarm in the building. So I think they gave us enough with her because it left us to think, oh, she's with her friends. Is this gonna break up this way? They say no, it's just him. They have a decent relationship. She likes him. He's his focus right now. He's trying to focus on the wine thing. They have a very trying thing, which of course pushes him off track. But at the same time, he's that she's been there for him, and that's always
Right.
hard to do a movie. To do a movie where they just do a breakup when there's all this other stuff happening. So I think it was a decent amount of time for her in the story.
I thought though that she's the one I think was the, what do you say, the crucible, not the crucible, but she was the impetus that really pushed him over to do it. She's like, yo, all this stuff, do it. You know what I'm trying to say? He's like, but he said, there's always going to be excuses for things you can and can't do. So, you know what? Why don't you just do it? And I think that's her support. When his father was like, hey, you can't change your shift. Who's there in the middle of the night with him, cleaning up the restaurant, getting things, her. And the very fact that she, at every step, unfortunately, let's say this dude needed some help with girls, and whereby she's the one who had to pursue him and practically make him understand that, hey, we're going together, that we're going on a date. I mean, and they make the point in the show a couple of times. One, when she's like, yeah, this is a date. And another point where she's like, yo, she missed the parents, and she's like, if I'm helping you clean up in the middle of the night, I better be your girlfriend. And you're like, holy snap.
Well, I don't think that. I think one of the things is that because they already had the other scene at the table where he says, how are you going to get to college? And he's like, oh, I'm going to sell a car. He's like, you can't sell a car. You know how many? And then they're like, what? Like that sort of thing. So it's establishing it's not that he hasn't been with women, but the thing is at the wine thing, he's interested in her, but he's more interested in the wine. So he's like, can I get you interested in this? I got an angle. Drake and this person. I have an angle, and that's what his interest was, and that's why she had to come back. And that's sort of thing where you're like, oh, my sell to her was selling her the wine, not me. And then she's like, you didn't get it was me. So I think it was showing how he was really focused on the wine at that point.
I get that, but I mean, there was also a point, yeah. What do you think about the music? Do you think the music helped?
I think the music was I was watching with my wife, and she struggled with the music, but I think the music was mainly from his head, like what he would listen to from his point of view. So once you see him go, we went to Paris, and he started to shift. That's when the hip hop started to shift, the music started to shift. So it was mainly from his perspective, and it was a good, as they say, juxtaposition between getting these just basically mundane visuals, which are very nice, it's beautifully shot, and then having this thing of saying, this is the music this kid listens to, and there's these beautiful areas dealing with wine and all this other stuff. So it's really in his head, this sort of music, and they kind of, I guess, tied it when he goes to his friends and they say, what kind of rap music, what kind of music you got playing? And then you just listen to that. So, but I also like the thing that people like to have like Animal House, having the alphas versus the gammas. And I really like that he was challenged by the person that would sort of be his closest friend. The guy who's in How to Get Away with Murder. He was also in
which guy are we talking about? There were two. The first guy who came up to him.
Not the first guy, the second guy.
The second guy in the school who was like really who knew the stuff cold, right?
Yeah, but he's established. The other guy, he was just really funny. I think that guy is this is Matty McGorry. Matty McGorry was the one who knew his stuff, and then I think it's Gil Ozuri. Gil Ozuri. He's the friend who does all the jokes, and it was interesting to have someone where it was, the rivalry, not losing that element of rivalry is there with the friends, where you had one rival who beat him, and they became close friends. It could possibly closer than him with the guy with the glasses. And
It was the initial.
then the one he had first met with the glasses said he failed the first time, but the lead passed. So he's like, oh, he's at the end where his friend gets it. The character's name is Elijah. Elijah passes the first time. He fails the main test, where his buddy, which is Richie, he passes it, and he's actually doing it. He's in a restaurant. He's drinking wine. What's his name? Struggling, looking at that coin, looking at that button. He's like, oh man, that my dude got the button. I can't be a friend and nothing like that. So it's like one of the things that's important, that any good sort of competition sort of gets you better. And I think I always go to the movie Revolver. Like once you have, like, that's what chess playing is that you can't take it like this guy is just an asshole. That person that's your biggest rival can also be the person to push you to the next stage. And also being different than him and the father. So it had a lot of layers to it. And it looked good, especially him getting the wood. All these backdrops was just so beautiful. So
yeah, I mean the food, the I think the comparison of juxtaposition of where you have both the wine as well as the barbecue being made, the time and consideration both of them take them, from choosing the right wood, cooking it a long time, and then here he's going to details of where the wine is grown, the taste, the acidity, the location, summer, old world, new world. It was very, very good. So you did get an education becoming a wine connoisseur to a degree. But yeah, overall, my take on this movie was it was pretty good. I mean, I think it's enjoyable. Like I said, to me, the strongest people were definitely the supporting cast for this show. The main guy was okay. Wasn't bad. I mean, he's playing.
You mean you saying Elijah?
Elijah.
The guy, he was okay.
I couldn't connect with him as much, but that did not hurt me in terms of the movie, because the supporting cast was good in bringing it forward. I couldn't. When you look at a movie, a lot of times you see yourself in the character. Sometimes, a lot of times.
Oh, I totally especially that point. I don't think. What was it? I don't think I had that many moments with my father. Like the main moment that wasn't like me and my father, but it was like when his father says, I want to be a teacher. And he's like, you just want to go to school to teach, like to be a teacher? And he's like, whoa. And it's like, that's where ultimately you have to remember that kids also can say stupid things and can really take you off track. So there's a lot for me to really connect with. And it, like, what ultimately were you looking for?
I mean, I just felt, in my 20s.
You related to the father, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I related.
And you wanted him to really get some act right and stop messing around and work on that. He's like, you got a business, a good business that you
got a legacy to take care of. And so, I was fighting with that prospect of it. But I also understood the need to find your own, the need to discover your own. And I think in the second half of the movie, where those two finally actually get together because of a tragedy, unfortunately, that the father realizes that this is more than just a passing fad. This is something where he has to go out and strive and make his own reach.
Well, not because of the tragedy. The
tragedy brings them together.
The tragedy is why the son sort of comes to him, but at the same time, the moment is that it wasn't a passing fad for him, where they're together. He's trying to connect with his father now, and they're out, and he's talking wine with them. So then that's the thing. He doesn't give up any ground, though. And that's the important thing. When you're in this chess match, the father doesn't give up ground and said, hey, don't blame not taking the test on me and your mother. And that's an important part to say, all right, I can blame them. And that's one thing that kind of gets lost in movies, where you say, you get insulted by someone, then you go and you just shoot up and you try to kill yourself. And this is trying to kind of play that you're going to run into adversity, and you have to see how strong you are after it. You're going to lose. And that's what we shouldn't be. When I looked at it, it almost felt like when I took the test to drive and I think I failed the written test twice. I failed the driving test once. And at the same time, and that's me, but that's me not the actual book part of it was me not just doing the work. So the last test was I killed it the last time. Then the second time, I had to somehow relax in there. So then the first guy was real rigid. So the second time I was in there and I did all this practicing, did all this stuff. And the next thing you know, we were, he got into the car and he said, okay, put the keys in ignition. And I said, oh, where are the keys? So I just did a joke. And then from that point, when I was parallel, everything was going good and I was parallel parking and I was kind of overlooking it. And he was like, no, I think you're good. And then we got in and I passed. But that point when they were together, that was closer to when me and my father were there, when I was kind of being distant and I'd use every form of nonverbal being an a-hole that I could with them. Every possible thing so they can't say nothing, they can't try to get into a fight. He's like, all the nonverbal asshole stuff you can do, I did it. So that I really connected with those stuff. So sorry.
My God. My gosh. I don't know what to say about that. But
hey, I'm saying, I said that I felt he was an a-hole. He said he was going to be an a-hole. And I'm saying at the same time on my end, I know.
You recognize it. 2 points I wanted to make too about the movie was, the master sommelier is a really serious thing. It's really actually an existing thing. There've only been over 274 sommeliers since it was established. I think it was 1971. Mm-hmm. And this is only like 3 to 8% of the people who take the test actually pass it. And most people pass on the second or third time. So, I mean, that's something. A lot of people pass on. So what we're seeing, it shows you the level of difficulties that he has to encounter. Another point is that, one of the great things is that they didn't take it like, oh, well, there are no African-American, no Black sommeliers. You did see, like one of the instructors was teaching it. We also saw in this class that there were also Black sommelier, or people are attempting to be. So, I mean, I didn't think that was a good thing that they didn't have to focus like, this is the only, they were like, hey, he's trying to learn a lot. There's not a lot of us in doing it, and let's go about doing it. And lastly, sorry, what do you want to say?
I don't want to that's the thing. I don't want there to be a numbers game to say, well, he's the only one, and so they showed you a Black teacher here or a person of color there. So it's not like worrying about the people that are counting. They're not watching the movie. We're not supposed to be watching the story to say, that's a Black guy. All right, so it's him trying.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they didn't make that the point of let's count.
You called it out. You just called it out, saying, "Hey, they hit their quota."
What I'm just trying to say is the point is that this is a tough exam and people are out to do it. And lastly, Niecy Nash, I think, was great as the mother in the story. The way she gave encouragement, the way she connected to her husband, how she dealt with that whole relationship. I thought you really believed that it was a family between him, his mother, his father, his sister's husband, mm-hmm. who said some inappropriate things a couple of times. But
I really
so it really worked for me. And so I would recommend doing it. I'll give it in a scale of 10, I'll give it an 8.
Well, I don't like doing the rating. The one thing that was hard for me in this movie was that there's a podcast called The True Wine Connoisseurs with Sadat X from Brand Nubians. And ultimately, you have to remember, and this is just, this is a tidbit that is a hard thing because people do the hard work in doing and becoming that the wine connoisseur, the sommelier, and all that stuff. That's a heavy job to do, but ultimately, the wine people are like, we need people to sell wine. We don't just need them to know it, because the True Wine Connoisseurs, they did their podcast where they weren't just wine tasting, they were wine drinking.
Who are these guys? I never saw before in my life.
Right? We have got True Wine Connoisseurs in the house. Sadat X and Will Tell. And we've got
now I got it. That's who they are? Holy shit. I was way off course.
And they're like, yeah, this is a cab. They're like, they're kind of doing, not just sort of mocking it, but having fun and getting drunk. And then the wine people are like, hey, would you do our wine? Would you do our wine? Hey, you want to come to our vineyard? And then next time they talk to them, it's like, we don't need wine connoisseurs. We need people to sell wine. That's what we need. So I kept thinking about that watching it. But also,
cool.
Niecy Nash is always pretty solid in all the things. His sister, like I think I want to see more of her, and obviously his girlfriend. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I say go ahead. I think one of the things is hard because this is like, what's that movie by Jon Favreau where it was chef? It was called Chef, right?
Cook. A chef or cook.
Like these movies don't really make it to the theater anymore, right? And this would be the way it was shot was ultimately to get some audience reaction. So when his friend his first rival, Harvard, when Harvard is like is challenging him and say, hey you got that sort of thing. That's a moment for the audience where the audience would be like, punch this guy in the face, and then next thing you become friends. It kind of takes the movie away from the audience because it's like, yeah, this guy's gonna be the jerk of the thing, and then ultimately when he has to take, he does the struggle with the father. His father is like, hey, you gotta come back and work on this thing. I got a good job for you. And it's like, well, and that also shows you that sometimes, life kind of shifts, and that's what's happening to him. To understand that life shifted him. So I mean, I think ultimately, I would love to see how these movies would play in the actual theater, how the audience would react to that. So
that was a great point. I think you have one of the most talented guys, the number one guy in the class, and yet even he had some pressure of the relationship with his parents, where he has to come back. He has to give up his dream of becoming a son of Leah. So yeah, it's interesting. But it was a struggle for all of them. It was a struggle for him. It was a struggle for whether you had the money or not. It's expectations on what people want you to do, and it's life. And so the key thing is that, and the same thing in the 5-0 movie, if you believe in something, you got to do it. And you only have one life to live. They say in the soap opera.
Is this an intervention? Are you trying to have an intervention right now?
You only got one life to live. You got to do what you want. You got to do what you want to do, because you may never get another chance. And all you're going to have is regret at the very end, saying, damn, I wish I would have tried that. Okay. So I just want to say with Prentice Penny, you want to, kudos to him for doing this movie, because, it's a movie that you have to follow your goals, your dreams, something that you love to do. So this, I think, is his first movie, and I think he did a pretty decent job with it.
Yeah.
You just continue. I mean, like I said, I think in his bio, he says that he was a teacher and then he got picked up to do a show. I forgot what show it was. And he just started doing script writing. And then from one script writing to the next, and then he's in Brooklyn Nine. Another show you don't want to talk about. You're going
to keep bringing up Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all right?
And so he gets that, and then he sees that the Issa Rae's, her show got picked up by HBO. And she's like, he starts selling himself like, yo, dude, I have to be the showrunner for that show. And he gets the show. And then now he does his own show on True TV. It wasn't as successful as he wanted. But, from there, he's just continuing, just because one project doesn't work, he tries something else, and boom, he has this on Netflix. Now he has a directing thing under his belt. He has a producing and script writing one. He already had the script writing. But you got to keep pushing it, keep moving it, what I'm trying to say, because that's what life is about. If you don't try something, then you're never going to see how well you could have done. All you're ever going to be is a would have, could have, should have.
Yeah, and, it's it's a solid effort. And I think it's, what is it, number 8 in the Netflix movies?
Yeah, it's one of the top 10 Netflix shows right now. So, yeah.
So, that, it's doing...
That whole Netflix thing, it's killing me, man, because now that Netflix has numbers on their shows, I'm actually watching more of their shows. Hey, what is everybody watching? So it shows you that social proof does make...
No, you're not doing that.
So I'm watching, I watch Self-Made, I watch... Letter to the King, I've watched Platform. Those were all top 10 shows.
The Tiger thing yet?
I'm watching that now.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.